Welcome back to Trans Heartbeat. I'm Michelle Matlock, and I'm honored to be joined today by Cathy Renna, the Communications Director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, an organization that has been at the forefront of fighting for LGBTQ rights, visibility, and justice for decades. This year, the task force is marking a powerful and deeply meaningful moment. 7 extraordinary trans pioneers and heroes will be inducted into the National LGBTQ Wall of Honor at the historic Stonewall Inn. For those who may not know, the Wall of Honor is part of the Stonewall National Monument, a sacred space that commemorates those who have shaped our movement for equality and liberation. This is about honoring our history and recognizing the fierce leadership of trans people who have paved the way, even as our community faces an ongoing wave of anti-trans legislation and hostile rhetoric. Today, Cathy is here to help us understand the significance of this moment, the work of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and the impact of honoring these 7 trans icons. This is Trans Heartbeat.
My name is Cathy Renna. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Communications Director for the National LGBTQ Task Force. In 2019, the National LGBTQ Task Force and the International Imperial Court Council partnered to add 50 names in honor of the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising to this wall, which is actually in the back of the Stonewall Inn and is there for everyone to see. The idea was to really create a monument to those we have lost and posthumously celebrate trailblazers, pioneers, heroes that have contributed to the progress of the queer rights movement throughout their lives. And so it's a really diverse set of people across all kinds of parts of art, activism, culture, politics, and more. And so every year, Pride Month, we have an event that's open to the public, and we add names to the wall, and we recognize these folks. It's always been really important, but I think especially now as we see attempts to erase our history, attack our community, and really create what is essentially an increasingly hostile environment for queer people in this country, it's more important than ever to really honor those that have come before us. We stand on their shoulders, and also educate people. I see people come in and they look up at the wall and, they may know a name or two. They may know a Harvey Milk. They may know a Matthew Shepard, right? But they may not know other people. They may not know who Urvashi Vad is. And so they get on their phones and they start Googling. To me, that's the purpose of the wall. This is the year that we add all Trancestors and trans pioneers and trans and non-binary individuals to the Wall of Honor. This year, we are adding Ruddys Martinez, who was a matriarch of Puerto Rico's queer community, a pioneering drag artist, activist, trans woman. A whole bunch of folks are from the foundation that was founded in her name are coming from Puerto Rico to honor her. We're always just really honored to have family and chosen family and fellow activists come. We're also adding Chilli Pepper, who is super well known in Chicago, was one of the first trans women to go on shows like Phil Donahue's show, Oprah Winfrey's show, to really debunk stereotypes about trans and queer people. And she was very, very active in advocating for awareness around HIV/AIDS. We're adding Lynn Conway. Lynn's basically the reason we have cell phones. She was an electrical engineer, computer scientist, and also a trans activist. So, she faced discrimination as a trans woman working at IBM and working in, the field of STEM. She created a method for microchip design that was a gateway to being able to create the smartphones that we all have today. One of the names that we're adding, which is one that a lot of people are not going to know, is Alan L. Hart, was one of the very first people to receive gender-affirming surgery, trans man, lived as a man, was a physician, attended medical school in the middle of the typhoid epidemic. This is in the early 1900s. And he contributed a tremendous amount to tuberculosis research.
This is the first documented gender-affirming surgery in the US. He convinced them to perform a hysterectomy.
And then the other additions are Jiggly Caliente, who was known as Jiggly Caliente. Her name was actually Bianca Castro Arabejo. She was a Filipino-American drag queen, trans woman. She also passed away very recently, was very well known, was a real fan favorite on RuPaul's Drag Race, and she was also on Pose.
There's no way to describe her. There's no way to put her in a little box. And she was just out there. She didn't just score performances, she fed souls.
We have the lady Chablis, who folks probably best know from The Garden of Good and Evil, or Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, both the book and then the film where she played herself.
The Lady Chablis is a motherfucking icon.
Everything she was on the page and on the screen, she was in person. She was an absolute iconic person, a phenomenal voice for Black trans women in entertainment and media. She just had a tremendous amount of charisma and was just one of these larger than life folks. And also Sam Nordquist, who, folks may have seen coverage. He was a young Black trans man. He died just this year in February. He was murdered. It was just a horrible hate crime. Sam's murder really woke people up. It happened in upstate New York, but became a national story. And we're just very moved and honored that Sam's mom and siblings and some of his nibblings as well will be coming to New York for the ceremony. I think it's really important to amplify those stories. And so those are the 7 individuals that we're adding this year. The Creating Change Conference, which happens every year, it will be in Washington, D.C. in January 2026, which we do in a different city every year. We are going to bring thousands of queer activists to Washington to train, to network, to talk about what's going on in the movement, and to then take all of that home and be able to do that work and pay it forward and do it where they live. And the opportunity to amplify these stories and really lift up the folks, some known, some not as well known, that, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be doing what we do. And then we're going to pay it forward for the next generation. So, that's a calling, I should say, that that task force has always had. So I'm really thrilled to be able to talk to you about it.
Cathy, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your passion with us today. Honoring these 7 trans pioneers at the Stonewall Inn is such a powerful reminder that our stories, our history are worth celebrating, protecting, and passing down. At a time when trans and non-binary people are facing relentless attacks, it is even more crucial to lift up the names and legacies of those who have led the way. Because when we honor our pioneers, we remind ourselves of our own strength, courage, and resilience. To our viewers, I hope this conversation has inspired you to learn more about the work of the National LGBTQ Task Force to support trans and non-binary communities and to take action wherever you are. Remember, our history is powerful and our future is even more so. Thank you for joining us on Trans Heartbeat. I'm Michelle Matlock. Until next time, take care and keep shining your light.